Welcome everyone. We're going to talk about introduction to ArrayList in Java. So before talking about ArrayList in Java, we'll give you a brief overview of the Java collections framework. So the collections framework is a powerful toolset that Java offers to store and manipulate groups of objects. And this includes various interfaces like lists, sets, and maps, and each designed for specific purposes. So understanding these collections is fundamental because they help us handle data more efficiently and flexibly in our program. So we're definitely going to go over more in detail on Java collections framework, but for this lecture, we're going to focus on ArrayList and how we can utilize it effectively in Java application. So what is an ArrayList? ArrayList in Java is part of the list interface. Unlike standard arrays that you may be familiar with, array lists are dynamic, which means that they can automatically resize themselves as needed when new elements are added or removed. And this flexibility is a significant advantage. It's because developers can work with lists of data without having to worry about the underlying array's size limitations. And here is a simple example of an array list which stores apple and banana in string. We are going to go into more detail on what each method in ArrayList does. Creating and initializing ArrayList. So here is an example on how to declare and initialize an ArrayList. The syntax is pretty straightforward. So first, you will declare an ArrayList by calling new ArrayList. And then you definitely want to specify the type of element it will store. So here we're saying that we're going to store string, and adding elements is simply a matter of calling the add method. So we can see that we are adding dog and cat to animals array list. If you want to, say you already know what you're going to store, then it is more efficient to kind of initialize an array list with a set of predefined values. So you can do that by using arrays as list, which is a static method. And this definitely makes it easy to start with a populated list. So we have a array list of numbers that are in integers. Accessing and modifying elements. So once we have our array list initialized by calling new array list, accessing and modifying elements is quite intuitive. So you can access elements using the get method by providing index. So here in an example, we can provide index 1 because in Java, index starts with 0. This will retrieve blue, which is the second element. And it is really important, and you can modify by calling set method. And then the first parameter is defining the index, and then the second is the value we want to change. So we can see that now output is green blue instead of red blue. One thing to keep in mind is that you want to handle indexes carefully, because on accessing an invalid index can throw an index out of bounds exception, which we want to avoid in our programs. Commonly used methods in ArrayList. So ArrayList comes with several useful methods that make managing lists easier. So for example, size returns the number of elements in the list. If we look at this example, we have this new array list called items, and then by calling size, it will just return the number of elements in the list. And then remove delete some elements, and we can remove by calling the specific element value, and then we can see that calling contain returns a Boolean value. What if chair exists, then it will return true. If chair doesn't exist, then it will contain false. And we also have clear that removes all elements. And then we also have is empty. This checks if the list is empty. So just if you're using ArrayList, keep in mind that these are commonly used methods. Iterating over an ArrayList. There are two ways you can iterate over an ArrayList. So you can use an enhanced for loop. This is very simple and readable. So we have this ArrayList called fruits, and we'll call each element in fruits ArrayList as fruit. Then inside this enhanced for loop, we can refer to the specific element as fruit. However, if you need more control, such as removing elements during iteration, because enhanced for loop doesn't provide a way to remove elements during iteration, using iterator would be more appropriate for a task like that. So here's an example of using an iterator. You will just call iterator method on fruits, and then in order to move to next element, you will call has next, and then this will return true or false. And then if it has next returns true, we can call next to get the next root inside the while loop. Here are some additional examples. So these are very simplified. So if you look at production code, there will be more details. But here's an example of managing a list of students in a class. And here is a way to store dynamically changing data from a database. So we have new array list, and then we're just adding database results. But you will actually, if this was a production code, you would communicate with database and then get results from database. And then you could also capture user input in graphical user interface. Conclusion. So we've looked at how ArrayList work within the Java collections framework, their methods, and some practical examples. So I encourage you all to experiment with ArrayList if you're not already familiar with it. Thank you everyone for your time.